Imagine being a serial entrepreneur, engineer, and marketing expert, all while hosting multiple talk shows and serving as a first responder. Today's guest, John C. Morley, doesn't just set goals, he makes promises and delivers on them. With over 107,000 downloads on his podcast, Inspirations for Your Life, and a passion for inspiring personal and business growth, John brings an unmatched drive and wealth of knowledge to everything he touches. Buckle up as we explore the mind of a true innovator dedicated to helping others achieve success. Welcome to another episode of our Founders Podcast. I'm your host, Ash, and this is a show where I interview proven founders and industry experts who share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you build, launch, and grow your business. I hope you enjoy the show. John, welcome to the show.
Ash, it is a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you. I enjoyed our pre chat and looking forward to the show today.
Great stuff. Do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires or motivates you, you would like to share with our audience?
I have a lot of quotes. The one that I want to share with you right now is comes from my slogan in my link, which is believemeachieve.com. And that is from a very wise person. And he said, Henry Ford, if you believe you're right, you're correct. If you believe
Hmm.
you're wrong, you're also correct. So what that tells me, Ash, is that it's the belief that makes it so. The belief that changes our perceptions, and that comes from a very good person, which you all know, Dr. Dwayne Dyer, rest his soul now. And he learned from Patanjali's, his protege, his master that he learned from. And he said something very interesting. You know, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. So therefore, that relates back to Mr. Ford's quote that our perceptions really create our reality, Ash.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that because I have I wasn't being a big fan of politics or elections since from my childhood, but slowly when I grown up and I looked a little bit into it, and I figured out that it's all about perception and not just politics. Everything else in your life is all about how you perceive things and what you think about it. Some people think that having men's and women's bathroom is okay. Well, I agree to disagree with them, but these are all controversial things. But it's all depends upon perception, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. And so now what they're doing is they try and do the whole thing of your unisex bathrooms, which to do it properly, if they're stalls and they're locked, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Or if they have a sign, I went to a restaurant and it didn't say male, female, or something else. It said a weird thing. It said whatever. And all of them said whatever because they don't want to be politically incorrect, right? There's so many different genres and ways you can say whether it's trans, non-trans, male, female. There's so many different tags, unfortunately, just to be able to
Hmm.
use the restroom. So it's just a room, and however you identify, just enter and use it and be done. And so what they're doing now is they're building more of these unisex type bathrooms where they can be private stalls and but it's definitely a lot different than what they're doing in Europe and France. I was just covering a
Yeah.
story on this the other day that they actually, when you leave the restroom, they actually spray high pressured water on the floor, sanitize everything. I don't think water's enough to sanitize. And then the lavatory goes out of use for 5 to 20 minutes. And then it comes back on. Well, one guy was so interested in this, he took his 360 camera, stuck it on the wall, hoping that he could get it out to videotape exactly what happens when it goes into cleaning mode. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of innovations and changes. And then, the fact is, people are just trying to be politically correct. And the reason they are is for one reason: it's for money. You might say,
Hmm.
John, what do you mean money? Well, I was talking to a chamber the other day, and they had changed their classification to what they can advertise and non advertise because that affects their federal funding.
Hmm.
Now, that's pretty sad when we're reduced to something and be made to share something based on the funding or non-funding we want to get. I think that's messed up, Ash.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally agree. Totally agree with you. Okay, great. So tell us more about John Morley. Who is John? Why should our listeners listen to John? And what is this crazy productive John does every day to enable himself to produce so many amazing episodes and put it out there, and then now has so many streams done?
Streams. We now have reels. We now have reels with that we do animated shorts on them. So it's not just reels. These are reels with music and catchy animations while you're watching the actual on-screen words, which is
Mm.
short little clips. So we take that because nobody wants to watch the long show, right? So we put it into clips. Oh yeah, well you should really watch the long show. And what I do now, which has been really successful, I invite people to go grab themselves their favorite beverage, a coffee or a snack. And you guys can go do that while I announce the rest of the show, but then come back and we'll start the show. I'm just going to go over the normal stuff I always do, but come right back and then we'll go ahead and enjoy the knowledge together. So about me. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. So what does that mean? It means that I'm wanted, but not for anything bad. So we hear serial, we always think of serial murderer. No, I'm not anything like that. So a business owner, as we all know, and yourself, Ash, is somebody who starts their own business to solve a problem.
Yeah.
However, a business owner doesn't have everything they need. They try to keep the lights on, they pay bills, but
Mhm.
they don't do the business because of a passion. They do it strictly for money. They do
Yeah.
it for that reason. When you get passionate about running a business for, let's say, a reason to you that is your why in life, that's when you become an entrepreneur of the business. You stop
Mm.
worrying about the money and you focus more on what impact the business is going to have, how we're
Mm.
going to impact people's lives. And that aligns with my two reasons for living, Ash, every day. I only live for two reasons: to
Mhm.
become a better version of myself and help others become a better version of themselves. Now, you might say, John, that's awfully selfish. Well, it isn't. Because, see, if I don't help myself first, I can never help anybody else.
Indeed. Yeah.
So if I don't like or love myself, I can't like or love everybody else. So what I did is I own an IT and tech company, went to school for engineering. I'm currently going to school for my master's in AI right now, and then going to complete my doctorates and a few years later.
Mhm.
Uh, but I never knew anything about marketing or advertising. People always shunned me from that. That was like the taboo word. Even one of my
Mm.
friends said, you'll never be a marketer. You'll never be an advertiser. You'll never be a writer. And I like to write. Well, when I was, I'm going to say a while back, I realized that I should hire this company because I'm never going to be a marketer, never going to be an advertiser, right? Because I'm just an engineer. What do I know?
Mm.
And so hired one of, well, I should say the most expensive marketing and advertising company in the world.
Mhm.
And I figured if I got them, right, I've got everything, right? Wrong. About 15, 16 years ago, I fired them. Now, I hired these
Mm.
people before I even had an official company. When I went back to play with them, I said, "Oh, John, your industry is so competitive." I said, "But you've been with me for how many years?" Yeah, and it just takes more time and more money. So about 16 years ago, I went to them. I said, guys, I said, now I did some homework first. Now, Xerox was, let's say, a client. We were a client of theirs for many years. And I
Mhm.
remember coming out of school, my grandmother said to me, John, you have to get a Xerox. Like, if you're going to have a business, you got to have a Xerox. They're the most money, but you got to have a Xerox. So at that time, I
Mhm.
couldn't really afford a color copier at that time. So I bought my first copier was one of those Sharps, the ones. They're okay, but they don't do much. They just go click, click. You turn it on. There's really nothing to them. I think you could do all the maintenance yourself, and when it was done, you kind of throw it away. Well, I
Mhm.
decided I was going to get a commercial Xerox. Brought them in, and I still remember to this time, we got a 230 ST, one of the top of the line models, did black and white only. It was a fax copier scanner. It was the works. I mean, it stood up as high as a medium refrigerator.
Mm.
Had about 4 drawers on it, 2 trays. So we were with Xerox for a while. So I decided, let me go back to them and ask them, how do I become a mom pop print shop? A lot of these companies couldn't print, they couldn't do squat, Ash. So I said, how do I
Mm.
become one of those? They invited me out for breakfast and lunch. I
Mm.
fell in love with this machine. I said, how do I get started? They said, John, it's real simple. I said, how do I get started? Just 100. Oh, that's it. So I reached in my pocket and I proudly gave them $100. They looked at me and they said, no, John, 100,000. Oh, I'm gonna have to talk to my bank about that one. And I did. My bank actually crazily said yes. I said, there's something wrong with my bank. They're
Hmm.
actually giving me the money. They said, when do you want it? So now I had to like hold back. I'm like, oh wow. I go to Xerox and without giving you the whole run through, I ran some entrepreneurial things where I decided to kind of tell them I didn't get the money that I fully was promised. So I was supposed to get, I believe it was 150,000. I told them I only got 100 and I think it was $130,000. I apologized. I said, I guess my credit wasn't as good as I expected. Let me know what I owe you
Mm-hmm.
for the lunch and the breakfast. And I knew what I was doing. Well, he still wanted my business. He
Hmm.
went back like the little car salesman. He says, "Oh, Johnny, I forgot to tell you." He says, "This machine comes with a 30,000. This comes with a $20,000 rebate that we're going to start next week, but we'll give it to you today."
Hmm.
We thought that was going to close the deal. Well, now I said I need time to think about it. I went home. I thought about it over the weekend. I said, "I'll call you on Monday. Don't call me. I'll call you." I stopped into his place after lunch on Monday morning, and I said to him, I really want to get this machine. But I was
Hmm.
thinking about it, looking at my finances, and I realized I don't have the means to do this right now. Well, you said you got the loan. I said, yes, I do, but I don't have the other $50,000 that I'm going to need to go through the training for this machine for 2 or
Hmm.
3 weeks. So I'm going to pass. And you know what? I'll keep you in mind for the future. They asked me again if I want bagels, donut, coffee. They asked me the same nonsense. He goes back to him. He comes back. He goes, Mr. Morley, I forgot that was the best part. That was my fault.
Yeah.
Excuse me? Well, this machine, starting Monday, comes with 40 hours of free training, all included.
Hmm.
So now I'm like, okay, let's have them sharpen their pencil a little bit. I want to make sure I get the best deal. So I was like, okay, this is the best price, and the copies, all these things down. I said, you know what?
So
We're
the
going to
deal
kind of,
they were giving you for $100,000, they reduced it to $40,000
correct.
with training. Oh my God! You negotiated 60,000 less.
So it was 150. Okay, right? I only came to them with 30 for, yeah, $60,000. So
Yeah.
I it was like not really the end of the year. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'm not really ready to take a machine on my books this year. I'd like to take it next year at the start of next year's physical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll sign your paperwork today, but I don't want it to hit my books until next year. So I don't want to get it till the week after I come back from vacation, which is the third week of January. And I don't want to make my first payment till the third month of 2020, whatever it was, the year it was. And he goes back running to the guy, comes back. I said, otherwise, just let me pay you for the lunch and the breakfast, and we'll just call it a
Mm-hmm.
wash. He comes back to me. Guess what? He says, okay, we got a deal. I said, okay, great. Very slowly, I signed the paperwork. And then you can imagine what happened next. I went to the large marketing advertising company, and for professional reasons, I'm not going to give you their name, but they're still in business ripping and raping people.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot of big clients because they have a couple good executives, but a lot of the junior people don't know what they're doing, so they're just very good at ripping people off. They should have a master's in that, maybe a PhD in that. So I went to them and I knocked on the door very early on I think it was on a Friday morning, and I said to the gentleman there, I said, good morning, how are you? So Johnny said, could you give me a minute? He says, I'm not really up yet. I know you're a morning person. I didn't get my coffee. Just give me a minute. Do you want bagel, donuts, whatever? So they go through that whole spiel. Let me get your sales rep. Let me get Jim on the phone here. He's going to want to talk to you. So he calls him. I said, how are you? I said, great. Before he comes out, I say to him, I said, I just want to say thank you to you guys. You guys have been amazing. We had a great run and we're done. Said, just let me get some coffee because I'm just not really awake. My sales rep comes in. And I told him we had a great run and we're done. It took me an hour to get through their heads that they were fired. And when they found that I was starting a company, they said, oh, bro, we admire you, but you don't have what it takes to do that. We don't want to have you swim with the sharks because you're going to get eaten alive, and we want to protect you from that. A year or two later, so I failed for 2 years. A year or two later, they came back to me, and they said, we want to help you out. So we want to see if we can help, take some of your clients off your hand. You guys can keep your name. We'll do all the work. And, just lighten your load. We'll help you with some of the big guys. So I said to my sales rep, I said, I got a better idea. Why don't we take some of your clients from you? We'll do all the work. You keep your name. The ones that haven't filed a lawsuit against you yet, the ones that you just don't realize aren't your clients anymore, that just haven't had the guts to tell you. And we'll actually make sure that they get an ROI. How's that sound? Well, John, I can't make that kind of decision. I said, exactly. So until you can make that kind of decision, you can't ask me out to lunch. When you can make that kind of decision, we can go to lunch. He went away with his head between his legs, didn't know what to do. And so that got me on the whole track. But what got me to doing what I do, Ash, is that I decided I needed to become better. I needed to create content. I love motivation.
And that all these small but tangible stories telling me that you're a super negotiator.
I am a super negotiator.
You are.
My initial negotiation skills, which are very my petty ones, were learned from an audio cassette. Now, this dates a while back. My dad had taken a course called the Karras Method. You may or may not know it. So I didn't take it, but I had his cassettes. And this was just my very beginning knowledge. And I learned the Karras Method. And one of the things they teach you is never deal in funny money unless the funny money is you getting a profit. Because if I say it's going to cost X and then we have all these things and that happens, and all of a sudden we add this stuff, and it's like, this is what we call funny money because the money can add up. If it adds up for me, that's great. But it adds up for you and I got to pay you, that's a problem. So when you deal with funny money, realize it's not something you should work with unless you really understand the true value of it. So I learned about negotiations. I also learned, Ash, a really important lesson, which is to walk away. When I started my company, by the way, this is JMOR's 30th year, which is my tech company this December. And when I started the company, I wanted every job. You're probably the same thing. You want every customer, right? Now today, I'm like, I need to walk away from some. I need to say no because they're below our standards. They're not going to get us to make money. And so by starting the marketing and advertising company, print production, graphic and media company, I decided a while back, about 8 years ago, I'm a writer and I like to write. So I submitted my work to international press. I said, what's the worst they're going to do, Ash? They're going to tell me no? So I submitted it. I got a letter back saying, dear Mr. Morley, we regret to inform you. I said, all right. They regret to inform me that at this time, we're not able to induct you into the International Hall of Press and Writers and Reporters. So I didn't even read any further. The next day, I went back to that letter again, and I noticed there was another paragraph. I said, let me read the rest of it. And even though we're not able to induct you today, we'll be happy to bring you in the association within 3 weeks. We feel that your level of work is exemplary in your field, and we feel that it would be an honor to have you as a reporter and videographer as part of our brand. I was like, oh, wow. So within 30 days, I got my official press badge, which I now get every single year. And so that meant to me, Ash, that what I put out there is about integrity. You can't pay me to write something just because you want me to say something.
Yeah.
I write on the true value of it. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So what makes John is John doesn't care what anybody else thinks. John just lives his life and he puts out the story. You can like me, love me, or hate me, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. Because you see, everyone has the right to become a better version of themselves and help others. As long as I don't hurt or disparage you or put you down in any manner, there's nothing wrong with me living my life and being successful. So I think the problem is a lot of people don't like it when you do something, or they get jealous when you go down a certain pathway, right? That's a problem.
Yeah.
So I realized very early, Ash, that when these people are doing this, I'll give them a warning. But if they keep doing this, I need to say goodbye. Like, I don't want to hang with them anymore. So what makes me unique, Ash, you can tell from, my, the fact that, my energy, which is a little high, I'm like this all the time. And so I eat, sleep, and breathe motivation. I went back to get my degree in clinical hypnosis and psychology. so I could learn about the language I never learned, which is the language of the mind and the body.
Mm.
And so I also became a Reiki level 2 master. And I just love to learn. And I think a lot of people in our world, when you tell them something, they don't really want to hear what they don't want to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
But you tell them, and that can be a challenge. So what makes John is, I do my shows, I create all kinds of different content, I push them out there. And for me, it's about getting people to see my content, hear my content. I think my one show now has 175,000 inspirations, has 175,000 now downloads. And the tech show
Wow.
has about 15,000. So not too bad.
Mm.
But the other thing I should tell you is that I never get banned from platforms. Now, Facebook's been having some real stupid issues lately. Their own staff is getting banned because their AI can't figure out what's good and what's bad. So I don't count that. But I never get banned because my content, Ash, doesn't sell anything.
Mm.
It educates people.
Yeah, yeah, and and I have to cover quite a lot of questions on the interview today. That's what my next question was. Like, when did you actually started this podcast? What year? What time?
So the inspirations for your live show is in series 3, episode show 40. And tonight, well, actually, depending on when you're playing this, tonight is going to be episode number 3. We start every Saturday with a new master topic, and we roll through the week and we finish up on a Friday. So there's 7 episodes in one show. So series 3 means that we are in the 3rd year.
So you started in 2021 or 2022?
So we started, let's see, 24, 23, 24, 23, 20, 22, because this will be our 3rd year.
Great. And
The
when
end
you
of this year,
started
we'll
in,
be going in our 4th, and we'll be celebrating a full 3rd year.
so when you started in 2024, that's 2022.
Yes.
Obviously, you must have started with 0. What were the different strategies you used to get more listeners on your show?
So I think the biggest thing is in the beginning, I wanted everybody, right? In the beginning, we always just want to get everybody who wants to come on a body. But I started
Mhm.
realizing that I got to be selective, Ash, that I can have anybody from celebrities to people in their business to politicians. I got to be selective in who I pick because not only
Mm.
is it my brand, but it's my message. Now, I'm not endorsing them, but still, I can't have somebody on my show that's trying to sell, or I can't have somebody on my brand that is going to be knocking the type of stuff that I do, because that would be a direct conflict, right? And that would send a wrong message. So to me, I got more people by creating articles, by putting more videos out there. Now by doing we've been doing a lot of reels, but we just changed in the last few months that our reels are now not only with text, with the headings on there, but they're animated texts now.
Mm.
So, like, for example, if I say education, I might have a book flip in the word education while the word education comes up.
And how long so I want to understand more about how you do this short form content, but before we go into that, I
Sure.
want to
Sure.
understand, after 2022, how long it took you to get to 107,000
So
downloads?
that was strange because, see, in the very beginning, we weren't on all the different platforms. Obviously, when we started, we were only on a handful of platforms. Now we're on hundreds of platforms. It was a while back, let's see, about a year after we started, that I had decided just before Christmas that I was going to do basically the 20, was it the 20 some days of 25 days of Christmas, but instead of Christmas, I decided to do the 25 days of inspiration before the holidays. So I went to the dollar store and I went and bought a whole bunch of little trinkets and I wrapped them. And then I would open it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, look what the universe just got me. A trash can. I know you have a sense of humor, but are you really trying to tell me I'm trash? You owe me a big apology here. I don't think I'm trash. Like I'm trying to be with you here, but the sense of humor thing isn't working for me. So you better come clean with what you mean by a trash can. You're not going to tell me, are you? So I said, "Oh, I get it, Universe. You are so smart. I wish I was as smart as you." So you're giving me a trash can because you're trying to tell me I need to eliminate certain people and things and activities from my life so I can become better. Oh, that's what it was. Oh, thank you, Universe. So every day I would open up a new trinket.
Mm,
And there's actually a book in me that's in process. It's called 25 Gifts of Inspiration to Change Your Life. It's not out yet. And so
mhm,
the book comes with these little toys. And so after that happened, see, the show used to just be me getting on and talking about something, but it didn't have a format, Ash. It was just like, all right, let's talk about John's life, right? Nothing crazy. And I would talk about lessons, but it didn't have a format. So I said, you know what? I got to come up with a theme for the show. Like every week, I've got to have what I call a master topic. And then every
mm,
day, I've got to have a granular topic. So, for example, this week we're talking about music and how music can inspire us. And so, um, one of the things in the week we'll talk about is different types and things like that. So, every day we talk about something. And so, people that grew into my content are just finding me through Apple and through different places. It takes time, but
right.
we
So
put out
yeah,
a lot of
that's what I was.
content, a lot of content.
So basically, what you did is you did content marketing to get the word out
So
there.
let's be careful with content marketing because that implies that you're going to pay for content marketing. So if we're talking about content marketing in terms of organic content marketing, that's what we did. If a company hired us, we could call that content marketing, but I don't really call this content marketing because we're not doing pay per anything. We are the agency creating everything. But if, let's say, you came to us and said, hey, do content marketing, as long as it's
Mm,
organic, which means we're coming up, the only pay that people be paying us would be to create the content, but not for
mm,
clicks or views or things like that, because those aren't really people that are going to stay with you. And you never want to buy your subscribers or buy your viewers or anything like that. That's just going to be a recipe for failure. So
sure,
when people
sure.
see that you're growing, they like it. They want to come on board. I have a lot of people that don't watch all the time, but they will watch once. Oh, yeah, I missed your show, but I always like to watch the reruns.
Mm,
I want to watch the replay. So I think with podcasting, what I want to tell people is don't start podcasting to become a millionaire. That's not why you start podcasting. It can help you, but it's about a brand. And that brand is about you. And so if you're doing it to help others, great. But if you're doing podcasting because you're looking to be featured somewhere, don't be a podcaster. You're going to
mm,
be disappointed. I get behind the mic and I get fueled by being on the air. I just started a brand new show earlier this year called John C. Morley, Serial Entrepreneur, Behind the Mic on Saturday nights, which is on live radio in New York. So to me, and I call that a backstage pass to all the things that you're never going to learn from anyone or from any school. And so
mm,
to me, it's about taking content in the world and repurposing it, repackaging it. So you're not copying from somebody else, but you're taking things that you might learn. It could be from the Bible, it could be from other stories, and then figuring out how does that apply to your life and then creating a story about it. The reason people hire me a lot of times in our media company is because I'm a good storyteller. But I'm a
mm.
storyteller that tells story about the truth, not about what you want to be told if that isn't the truth. And I
Yeah,
think
and I
that's a
wanted
big
to
issue today.
and I wanted to uncover that part also. So you mentioned that you do quite a lot of short form videos marketing nowadays, and being a podcaster myself, I we have literally finished our eighth season recently
Congratulations.
recording. Yeah, thanks. And you don't have many sort of streams right now, but what we have is a small community where like
Mhm.
around 600 people are there, and we meet like monthly, etc. So how do you? So it takes too much time to create these podcast episodes. Like, we took like weeks to connect, get to know each other, and then finally we are recording today. but then afterwards it takes quite a lot of time to edit it, put things together.
It does.
what
It
are
does.
what are the strategies and tools you use in your content
So
creation mechanism to get this
so
short form
we use
content?
professional recording and developing software, everything from Adobe to DaVinci. There's no skin about it. I love video editing. I love producing. So if you don't like doing it, get out of the kitchen.
Mm,
There's no easy way. I'm not going to give you a 1, 2, 3 step. What I am going to tell you is that if you like video editing, it study and learn different parts of it and make your videos better each time. Um, been doing video editing for a long time and had never realized that animations with, let's say, the screen graphics, the words were not just important, but adding graphics to that. Now that takes a lot of time. Like if I say
mm,
something magical, I might have a wand suddenly, a sprinkle over the word. There's a lot of things in video which I could spend hours and hours on. And even when I do my clips, one thing that I use a lot is I use professional teleprompter software because sometimes, now I don't read it, but I need sometimes a jogger of a point. But I can't be reading, right? Because if I read, Ash, right, I'll be doing this, right? So I
mm,
just look straight at you, and my screen has my talking points. So that's important. I'm not a big proponent of using software that is going to create stuff for you. I like to use my own personality to what I think is important, and then using the proper hashtags to get that out. So that's a big problem. But in addition to what you see, we also added this year, we added something called our short reels content from our other show, which is our tech show. So our tech show used to be about tech topics every Friday, which it still is. But what we do now is starting on, let's say starting today, we'll be putting content up that'll be going out starting from Monday next week. And there'll be 14, there'll actually be 7 pieces of content going up, one per day. And then in addition to that, there'll be 14 reels that will go up, which by the way, just got recorded Sunday night, which start going out Monday morning at 5 a.m., 5:50, 10 p.m. at night, and they're clockwork like that.
mm.
And
so
people
so
like when I talk about different things in the industry, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, whether it's a lawsuit. A big one I had a lot of fans on was CrowdStrike. I know myself being in security, I wouldn't spend a penny on CrowdStrike. I think they're one of the worst companies out there. And anybody that doesn't test their stuff before they roll it in production, I mean, shame on them. You're talking with 2 executives that came from Norton, who I never really loved Norton. I think Norton was a big memory hog. So they said that it's a glitch. Yes, it's a glitch, but if you would have had a property Q&A and you would have tested things properly in a lab, in a let's say a testing environment, not a production environment, this wouldn't have had an issue like this.
Hmm. Let's focus on what could benefit our listeners, because most of our
Sure.
listeners are founders or people who wants to get out of 9 to 5 race. So they want to learn from people like yourself, right? Who has you know gone through all that pain. So couple of things. Yes, organic content marketing gives you that edge, but you have to do quite a lot of work, because you hire professional people who could do this editing for you, or you
Yep.
do it yourself, you learn yourself. What are
Hmm.
the other tactics to get more traction, not just on your podcast, but any kind of business you're doing?
Well, it depends on what it is, right? I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, like we put events on for people. We do press releases.
Let's take an
Uh,
example of one of your customers who hired you for that.
yeah, so we had a doctor's office that was opening their 6th practice, one of the largest neurosurgeon centers in New Jersey, and we designed 200. We designed 20 cards, printed 250,000 business cards. We're now designing 16 brochures for them. We planned and organized their grand opening. We wrote a press release so they'd be featured by many hospitals and different places in the area so they could get
Mhm.
people to their event. But see, a lot of people think that it's, just run an ad on Facebook, just do this. It's more than just drop and go. It's kind of like if you want to lose weight, right? Do you just stop eating the wrong way for one day? No, you have to be on, I don't want to call it a diet, but you have to be on a mental diet. And that's a new change of life. So if you're saying, John, I'll do this for this week, but then I'm going to stop after this week, I'm going to tell you, don't bother. Don't do it at all, because you're going to get frustrated because, when you put content out there, I mean, how many people are going to wait for the first 100 subscribers, right? They're going to get, disenchanted and they're going to give up. So I tell people, like, if you want to grow a podcast or you want to grow your business, you got to figure out what value you have. How are you going to educate other people? And you might say, well, gee, John, I'm not making any money by educating people. Well, if you educate people enough, I'm not saying to give away the whole kitchen sink in the living room, but educate people enough that they're going to remember you and make you a trusted advisor. Now, people in our industry, with all due respect to a lot of people listening, they're not experts. So if you're not an expert in your field, don't pretend to be one. Get knowledgeable, get trained. See, too many people think that they're going to start a business. And I have somebody I know that's from another country, and he wants to start a pet, let's say, removal business where they do insects and things like that. And I said to him, he actually drives a Lyft. And I said to him, I said, look, I said, it's great that you're doing this, but you don't have the same knowledge in the United States. You're going to get buried here. I recommend you go to school or you go work for a company that does that, and then you start your business, because you're too green. What you
Become
knew
an
over in
expert,
Europe
basically.
is different here.
Yeah, becoming an expert in the niche, basically.
Because if you're not an expert and you say you're an expert and people trust you and they find out you're not the expert, you're going to damage your reputation.
Interesting. Good.
So
Good.
and people are too in a rush to become known as the expert because they're so hungry for what? The money, right? I always tell people the money will come when you enjoy what you do.
How has your engineering background shaped your approach of marketing and entrepreneurship? I would be interested to
So
know.
sure. So as I need a new tool, like one of the things we're working on right now, we're working on a new AI tool that's actually going to be something we're using in-house only, which is going to decide if the guests are a good fit for us. So when people come from the different platforms like the pod, etc., they're going to need to fill out a form on our site, and our AI system is going to decide whether it's somebody we should talk to or not. So they're going to have to fill out certain information, give a bio, and we're going to look for certain information. Now, of course, if somebody says to me, hey, your system flagged us, they can always say, hey, I believe I'm a good fit. Okay, well, we'll relook at the system, but it looks like the AI system flagged you. We still can go back in and review it, because a lot of times people will say they want to be a guest, but then they don't have anything credible. So we'll ask for things like, what are the top 3 shows you're on? Give us 3 links. The AI system will review them to see if their content was of real value or if they're just trying to pitch people. We'll ask for them to provide insights to where they've been, let's say, positioned as an expert. Do they have any articles where they featured on Google? Give us some information. Our system will digest that. And then if we think it's a good fit, the system will go ahead and schedule a pre-chat with one of us. After the pre-chat, we'll make the decision whether we're going to invite them to the show or we're going to thank them for applying.
Got it. Got it.
It takes a
And
lot of time, as you know, Ash, to qualify people. A
and
lot
and,
of
and
time.
yeah, I totally appreciate that, because we also had our pre
Yes.
connection call, right? And
Ours was a short call, but sometimes if you don't know the person, it's got to be a longer call, right? So if you don't have enough background, if you can't see what the person's deliverables are, as you could see from me, I have a lot of deliverables. Some people might have never been on a show before. How do you decide if they're a good fit? They might be a good talker, but how do you decide? There was a gentleman's show I was on. I'm not going to name the show, but it was a problem show. And he says, I want to let you know that 90% of the episodes don't make it. Are you okay with that? I said, yeah, I'm okay with that, but people are usually waiting months to talk to me. He's like, so we go through the whole pitch and we go through the whole thing. And we get on the phone and I talk to him about, and it was called Nightmare Clients. And I had explained to him why this was a nightmare client and why I should be brought on the show. What value could I bring? So at the end of the interview, he says, John, he says, well, the good news is I think there's a 99% chance I think your episode's going to air. He says, just from what I can see. At the end of the show that they taped, I said, so I guess this isn't going anywhere. He says, oh, this is definitely going on the air in 2 weeks. Oh, well, that's fantastic. And I think you don't know what kind of person you're getting. Is that person about value, Ash, or is that person about trying to tell the world about themselves? I'm not important. You are, and your audience is. I just want to help people realize that hidden gem that's inside themselves.
So can you share some of the most, or one of the most inspirational story you have heard through your podcast that deeply resonated with you?
A story that I had or story with one of my guests?
One of your guests.
Sure. So, I had a guest from a head of a network. I'm not going to name the name. He's a celebrity. And I asked him, how'd you get started in your industry?
Mm.
And he told me how he would do everything when he was younger, do all these different things. And he was a go-getter. And he kept starting businesses and keep failing, starting and failing, starting and failing, starting and failing. I said, you haven't really failed unless you quit. You're not quitting, are you? He says, no, you haven't failed. As long as you keep going, you haven't failed. You just haven't found the right recipe yet, right? You're still trying to make the most delicious chocolate chip cookie. And so as he shared this with me, and I was talking with him, the thing that was really interesting is that when he was talking about how he built this and now how this business is really something he believes in, he did it because he feels it's going to inspire others. I had another gentleman on one of my shows that does national franchising. And I found out from him that he didn't start the company that he did. He just started the franchising company, but he knew nothing about this. Let's say it was a car wash company. He knew nothing about the car wash company, but he's featured in ads about car washes all over the place. He said, I know nothing about car washes. I went to our dealers for that. He said, we just help them put the plan together and make it a franchise. So I think that was pretty moving. It's also moving for me when I can have a guest that I could transform their life. And I had a lady, oh gosh, it was a few years ago. She was watching my show when I got started. And it happened to be very late at night, and she was overseas. And so she was telling me all these nightmares. I'm not going to go into all the details, but her life was falling apart. So I said to her, I messaged her in the chat. I said, do me a favor. I said, reach out to me with your contact information on the show. I said, I want to help you. I said, private message me in the chat. I said, I want to help you. I said, I'm going to do it for free. I just want you to do what I tell you and not question it. Well, she reached out to me. I worked with her for about a week, and about 6 days, because she would call me every day. Then she'd call me and tell me it's not working. I said, yeah, I know. I said, give it 7 days. On the 6th day, she called me. I said, I told you to give it 7 days. She's like, I know. She's like, I just want to let you know that this happened, that happened. All these positive things happen in her lives where, she had basically 5 jobs. Now she's down to 1 job that she makes 3 times what she made at all of them. And so just different things about that, and having people to be able to see that realization in life really made me see a meaningful purpose that I make in not just her life, but other people's lives. So that's something we talked about this week, is that when you have work in your life and you have meaningful purpose to what you do, it doesn't seem like work.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like that, definitely. So, okay, before getting into our lightning round, I just want to go through what we have discussed today. I always do that with my guests. So I try to note down everything, whatever I could grasp, in the short period of time with my guest, and try to communicate in a consolidated form. So being a business owner, the first thing you need to understand why. You don't go and jump on a business because you want to make money. I mean, that's an element of it, but it needs to come out like, if you want to help people, if you want to grow a part of your community, something which resonates with you, right? So the why is very important when it comes to becoming an entrepreneur. Then what I have learned is, from a podcast perspective, is there are multiple ways you can offer value, and there's multiple ways you can get that value to your end customers or end consumers. But then obviously when you start, you don't have much funds or capital available, right? So what you want to do is you want to create things which educate people, and then making those education, you reach out to people, and then you gain more traction. A couple of things you mentioned: short form of videos, press releases, and most importantly, becoming an expert in your niche or industry which you're talking about, or you're generating content about. So I
Mhm.
think these were the golden nuggets we have got. And obviously your small story about the Xerox which we got about the negotiation, which I really really you know relate to and got inspired, because negotiation is not something which everybody could do or could understand. And you almost reminded me the positive part, or the positive part of the Jimmy McGill from Better Call Saul. Have you seen that show?
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have seen Breaking Bad.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah, there was a lawyer, Better Call Saul lawyer, in the show, and then that lawyer has his own show out of Breaking Bad. It's called Better Call Saul. He is good, and he's so good with negotiation and marketing and advertising that it's when I was talking with you, it stuck to my mind. Like, okay, no, this is something incredible. Great. Anything else you want to
Yeah,
add
two things I want to
into?
share with you. So one
Yeah.
is that you're probably saying, "Well, gee, suppose I'm not starting a business. How can I use what John shared with me today?"
Hmm.
And how many of you out there are getting a new car, whether it's a lease, whether it's a purchase, right? Has that ever happened? And buying a car, building a house, and buying a car, those are challenging, right? Sometimes challenging because people always try to rape you over the coals.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, I always would have my dad go and negotiate everything. And last time I got the car, it was better, but still not great. So this year, I decided that I am going to use the walk away approach. I
Hmm.
know the car that I want, same car. I'm going to get the same car, the newest model, but they're playing price games with me. So I said, okay, you want to play price games? That's perfectly fine. Um, I don't need a car right now. I'm just going to
Hmm.
keep leasing my car month to month. I can keep doing that for a long time, and I don't need a car. So then they came to me and begged me to buy the car. And I said, I don't know if I want a car. So I went online and I went and price matched my car. Then I put a bid request in through the internet, had 4 dealerships calling me. I decided the one I wanted to work with, and I said, look, I'm not coming down to your dealership until we can agree on 3 things: the price, what I'm getting in the package, okay, and what you're going to cover from my old car.
Hmm.
And the old car was only 3 years old, but it was the same type. So a couple times I'd gone there and I had just literally would walk away. So when the guy said to me, he said, well, John, we can't do any better. I said, I want to thank you so much. Let's call him Glenn. Thank you so much for your time. I'll just keep my car then for a while. But thanks so much. You take care.
Hmm.
He calls me back, and 2 hours later, he goes, Mr.
Hmm.
Morley, he says, you really want the car? I said, I really don't want the car. I don't even care. You're the guys that want to sell me the car before the end of the month. I'll be happy with my car for another year or two. It still works. It's a great car. Yeah, but you want to get a new car. So if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. It doesn't really matter. But I'm not going to pay more than $20 more a month. I will not pay more than $20 more a month. And I will not put more money down, not a penny more down than what I put down last time for my car with title and taxes. Hangs up, calls me back again 2 hours later. He says, I can do the deal. He's $35 higher. So maybe you didn't understand me. I said $20. Okay. And I said, no more than I paid last time. Calls me back again the next day. He says, we're really in a, I said, you're in the rush. I said, I'm not. And so now he does the deal. Okay. Gets the exact number they want. I get down to the dealership, and that price per month is off by, I'm going to tell you, 25 cents. You know what I do?
Hmm.
I'm getting ready to say goodbye. Well, guys, it looks
Nice.
like I don't want to get the car today then. Well, what do you mean? You said, I said, yeah, I told you what the number had to be. That's not the number. Oh, John, for 25 cents, I'll give you the 25 cents. I said, no, you're going to fix it. So that's how I said, well, either you fix it or I'm leaving. They magically fixed it.
Hmm.
So you got to use the philosophy that you don't need the car. And I want to end with this, and that is that you got to bring your A game first. If you don't, someone else will, and you'll lose the opportunity. Everything in our
Yeah.
world is energy. Okay. So what we are and what we become, we take on energy. If we can't understand that, we'll be lost in the dark forever, because
Yeah.
nothing in this world was ever created in the world first. It was created in the mind first. Everything was a thought. Everything is energy. this keyboard, this mouse, this microphone, this computer, my hat, me, we're all vibrating at millions of times per second. So if
Yeah.
we start to
Yeah.
realize that energy is something that can be changed, even though we can't see it with the conscious eye, we're all moving all the time. And so if we understand that, then we can truly impact how life changes. And that's what I call the synchronicities of life. But that's a whole other
Yeah.
topic. So
Yeah.
just realize that it's up to you, and it's about the energy you put forward, because what you put forward will attract back.
Yeah. So we got really, really tight timing now
Hmm.
to finish our lightning round. So I've
Sure,
got 6 questions for you.
sure,
So really
sure,
quickly we go through it. Okay.
sure.
You ready? Okay,
Ready.
great. What are the three top strategies to generate more traction in 2024?
Where though? Online? Where are you talking? Online? Are we talking a business? Like, there's different things.
Whatever you think is relevant to
So
the.
so if we're talking about online, then I would tell you that you've got to create content. You've got to create educational content. You've got to build an email list with a double opt-in. You've got to invite people to subscribe. You've got to do events. Encourage people to learn about things, and really try to embrace your audience so that they're like family.
Got it. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
Oh boy. The book that I would recommend, there's so many. I would have to say Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill,
Mm, got it. Got it.
because it's about the whole the thing where, the man that will give you the fish for lunch, you'll be able to eat today. But then what about tomorrow? So if I
Mm,
teach you how to fish, you'll be able to eat for life.
definitely. Definitely. What's one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
Persistence.
Totally agree. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Everything's got to be on the calendar. So I don't
Calendar.
care if it's personal or it's business. I always say to people, if you're not on my calendar, well, I guess you're not happening then.
Cool. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would like to pursue if you had time?
Well, we are pursuing already right now. We're writing our own web content management system, which will be out next year. We're testing it in house right now, and it'll be out next year. It's the first web tech content management system. That's kind of going to be a lot better than the ones you see, because we're developing all the modules, and they truly integrate very easily, and we can host them on any of our systems. And I feel that a lot of small companies, they might not be able to afford this kind of technology, which is why we're charging based on the volume of usage of how much they need and what modules they need.
Got it. What's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
So I love golfing. I also love to sail. I sailed competitively. Started sailing when I was only probably 5 or 6. Started competitively sailing and crewing for somebody when I was probably only about 9. Raced competitively for many, many, many years. And I'm also one of the second level security supports responders for the New York Roadrunners show for the New York Marathon.
Wow, that's awesome. Lots of things in your diary. Yeah, great stuff. Cool. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. It's been um, sharing your story, unpacking the stories about Xerox and everything, building your business, and some of the ups and downs. If people want to check out the podcast you air, or
Sure.
if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do
The
it?
best thing they can do is they can go to, you can see my hat. If you guys are listening to it, then you might not be seeing it. So my brand is Believe. That's BELIEVE, me, ME, achieve, ACHIEVE.com. You can find out my Jay Moore Tech Talk show, the IFYL show. You can see my daily blogs, all kinds of stuff there. The best is it's open 24 hours a day. You can check out all my different businesses. But I leave you with this, that before you can actually do something, you've got to believe in yourself, which is why the brand BelieveMeAchieve.com.
Awesome. Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Founders Podcast. I hope you found our conversation with John inspiring and insightful. And thank you so much, John, for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and impactful work you're doing. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders
Thank you,
Podcast.
Ash. It was a privilege and a pleasure to share with you and your wonderful audience.
Great. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and stay updated on our future interviews with proven founders. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.